Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. We are in the middle of a heat wave. It's getting up to 30 degrees Celsius each day, and the lows at night are around 20. So not that hot compared to some climates, but for here in September, it's quite warm. The tropical trees just love this warm, steamy weather. The ficus green up and they start growing. I was looking at an older video from spring of this year at the root base on my ficus I grew from a seed here, and it sure has changed a lot since then. There's been a lot of fusion of the roots. It's thickened up at the base. It's made a lot of improvement this year. So it's nice to look back at older videos and see the progress of your trees, because day to day you don't really notice the subtle changes. I got a gift delivered to me the other day, and I'll show you what it is. These gifts are from Scott Winard from the YouTube channel Let's Do Bonsai. He's flying in to visit today from the United Kingdom, so it'll be nice to see Scott again. I haven't seen him for 3 years. So let's see what's in the box. The first item in the box is a Japanese pull saw. I mentioned in one of the videos I had one, but the one I had is only about half this size. So this has a cutting edge on both edges of the blade, and you just pull to cut. So instead of like pushing to cut, this is a pull saw. So very useful. Thanks very much, Scott. I'll put that to good use. The next item in here is a sketch pad. Awesome. I've got to do more sketching of my concepts for some of my trees, so I'll try and do more sketching in the future. And then last but not least is a box of paints and other media for creating art. Let's pull this out and have a look. So it's in a nice wooden box. All right, let's see what's in here. Unlatch it, lift it up. Holy cow. So these are oil color paints. Wow, what a selection. That's awesome. So I guess the colors look like they're duplicated. So we got burnt umber, burnt umber, burnt umber, lamp black, lamp black, lamp black. Yeah, so this is the row of colors. Very, very nice. And then I think these trays lift up. You pull it by here, like that. And then I think this one lifts up also. It's got little tabs here, like that. So underneath there's oil pastels, there's brushes, there's a paint tray for mixing your colors. Underneath here there is, let's see what it is. It looks like a bunch of watercolor paper, which is probably stretched on fiberboard. There's some pencils in here, and then there's colored pencils, watercolor paints, and oil pastels. Some erasers, pencil sharpener. So a well-equipped kit. Thanks very much, Scott. I'll put this to good use in future projects. Because it is hot and humid out today, I'm going to work on a tropical tree, and I think I'll work on my Vietnam style ficus. Here is my ficus microcarpa. It's in a 3D printed pot that's, designed to look like the cement pots in Vietnam, and the tree is styled to look like those giant trees you will also see in Vietnam. So I was going to defoliate it today. You can see how healthy it looks. The leaves get larger and larger as the branch extends, as the tree gains more and more vigor. And my idea is to keep this tree under control. I don't want it growing into a giant ficus. I want to keep the details on it quite fine and keep it under control so it doesn't thicken up too rapidly. So it grows, slowly and carefully. I was going to defoliate the tree today. And what that'll do is that right now you can see this branch is just a long branch and it has a lot of leaves on it. If I defoliate it, what it does is it activates the bud at the base of each one of these leaves, and that bud starts a new branch. So defoliation should increase the density of branching on this tree, which will also have the benefit of reducing the leaf size, and I'll have more branches to choose from the next time I prune it. Now, I may do a little light pruning today once it's defoliated, but a lot of the work today will just be defoliation. Before I begin the work on the ficus, when I was over at Derek's, Florence was there with some of her new pots she had just made. They were just fresh out of the kiln. And I bought this one, and it's one of the nicest pots I've ever seen. I'll show you it up close. Here is the pot up close, and it's got just a beautiful, beautiful glaze on it. And the pot is very, thin-walled and delicate. It's very, very nice pot. You can see the jade that Derek gave me looks quite nice in this pot. It has some of the colors that the lip of the pot has in the leaves there. The red and the green go nicely with the blue. So this might be, the tree for this pot for the future. But yeah, just a beautiful pot. I've got the ficus on the turntable. I'll just rotate it around so you can see what it looks like from all angles. Here's the right side, the back, the left side, and back to the front. Here is a look at the root base, and I did a lot of root carving on this, taking one big thick ficus root and carving it into sections so it looks like it has a finer root system, and it continues to look better every year as it heals over and these slivers begin to round. I think, in another 5 years it'll look totally natural and you won't be able to tell. I even carved the roots. All right, here I go with the defoliation. So I'll just snip off each leaf, cutting the leaf petiole in about half. The petioles on the leaves aren't very long on these Ficus microcarpa, so you just have to be careful not to damage the bud that's at the base of each leaf. Just cut carefully, and eventually you'll have the tree defoliated. There's a common misconception with bonsai that leaf pruning and pruning the tree will stimulate growth. That's not true. Leaf pruning and pruning a tree actually weakens the tree. The tree has to use stored energy to generate new leaves and new branches, so it actually weakens the tree. If you want your tree to be healthy, just water and feed it well and let it grow, and it'll be healthy. Pruning is a bonsai operation that dwarfs the tree and zaps the vigor out of it. So if you want smaller leaves, you leaf prune it and prune the branches. As I leaf prune the tree, I'm looking to make sure it doesn't have scale insects, inspecting the health of the tree to make sure everything's doing well on it. If you have an infestation of scale insects, it's best to treat the infestation first, get the tree nice and healthy, and then leaf prune it. Do not leaf prune a weak tree because it could cause it to die. So right now the sun is not shining in the greenhouse. It's in the shade of the big white pine outside, and the temperature in here is 30 degrees Celsius. So when the sun hits the greenhouse, it's going to get very warm in here. So I'll have to keep everything well misted, well watered. And some of the sensitive trees, you can always put them on the floor of the greenhouse to keep them out of the intense heat. Trees like this ficus don't mind the heat very much, but some of the more sensitive trees, you definitely want to protect them. I've got visitors outside. All the ducks are walking around in the bonsai area. They like the shade of the benches. Hello! You guys having fun today? There's more of them coming down here. Hello! They're eating the raspberry leaves too. Some people also grab the leaves and just rip them off. The only danger of that is that you're risking tearing that dormant bud off with the leaf. So I prefer to just slowly and carefully leaf prune the tree with the scissors. I do see a scale blister on the tree here. I'll show you a close-up of it. So right on the branch here, you can see there's a blister right here, and I'll peel it off. There it is. It's dropped onto the leaf right there. So I'll smush it, and then I'll spray the tree with soap and water when it's all defoliated. Here's another one right here. I'm not seeing a lot of scale insects on the tree. It's only been that one branch so far. So I think I've caught the problem before it becomes too big a problem. And that's the secret with bonsai, is to catch your insect problems early. Once the tree becomes heavily infested, it weakens the tree. It becomes harder to remove the scale insects because they're hard to get to. There's another one on this branch here. So I just remove the blisters as I'm working away on the tree, and then it'll get the spray of soap and water, and that should take care of the scale insect problems, at least for a while anyway. I've had pretty good luck in the greenhouse this summer. I haven't had a lot of insect problems. I've been noticing that some of the larger leaves on the top of the tree where it's most vigorous, we're starting to shade out some of these lower branches, and the lower branches were getting weaker and the upper branches were getting stronger. So defoliation will help. A little bit of pruning and defoliation will help restore the balance of vigor, and I'll get light to these lower branches. The lower branches, the leaf size is quite tiny on a lot of them, just because they're weak and they didn't get as much light. You can also do partial defoliation. You know, you could defoliate the top of the tree and leave the lower branches with their leaves on if you want them to gain vigor and help balance the vigor on the tree. But today I'm going to prune back some of these upper branches. That'll allow these ones to gain vigor, the lower branches, keeping the tree in check that way. But partial defoliation is quite a good technique also. Uh-oh, that sounds like the zombie apocalypse. It's starting. I hope Scott Wennard is prepared for the zombie apocalypse. So he should be arriving in Toronto any time now. So he's got to make his trip here to the bonsai zone. So I'm hoping to see him later this afternoon. Now I am going to the theater tonight to see the play Rent. So that'll be exciting. I don't think it's a happy ending, but yeah, I've never seen Rent. So I'm getting some nice fine branching on this tree. It's, you know, it's coming along. It certainly doesn't look like a grocery store ginseng ficus anymore. Thank goodness. They don't exactly look like miniature trees. One other thing to watch for on these hot days, the tree cools itself by evaporating water in the leaves. And if I take all these leaves off, the tree has no way to cool itself. So I'll have to keep it on the floor of the greenhouse and keep it watered and misted to keep the tree cool so it doesn't die from heat, which is a real possibility when you defoliate a tree. Some of these little micro leaves I'll just leave on the tree. They're a good indicator of how the tree is doing. The solar powered fan is just whirring away today. It's powered by the solar panel that's up here, which is getting good sun now as the sun starts to hit the greenhouse. So it provides a really nice breeze in the greenhouse. You never have to worry about turning it on and off. It just comes on when the sun's out, and when the sun sets, it just turns off. I also have a fan down here, an electric fan that blows in fresh air from the outside, and I keep the doors open in the greenhouse on hot weather, and it keeps it quite cool in here. It can be quite pleasant. It gets up to about 40 degrees some days, which is getting pretty hot, but so far all the trees are doing well in here. If you're thinking of getting a greenhouse, just be aware that it's totally different growing trees in a greenhouse than outside on your bench. Having a greenhouse is nice. You can heat it at nighttime when the temperatures go cool. The trees generally are safer from frost, and you can keep them on your watering schedule rather than whatever happens outside with the rain. But it can get quite hot in a greenhouse, so you have to have adequate cooling, and you've got to mist your trees, and yeah, you don't want to leave your trees in the greenhouse and go away for the day and have the greenhouse heat up to 50 degrees Celsius and kill all your trees, which can happen. I'm lucky I have automatic vents on this greenhouse, which really helps control the temperature on hot days when I'm not around. My poly house, all I can do when I'm going away is just leave the doors open, and it also has solar powered fans, which helps a lot too. And just make sure everything's well watered in the morning, and then you can go away for the day. And when you get home at night, water them once again, and they should be okay. I'm going to mist my tree just to keep it well hydrated and cooled. I have got the tree defoliated, so all these leaves I pruned off, just in case there's scale insects on them, I'll throw them out on the compost heap. And here's a look at the tree. You can see I've left a few of the really small leaves on, and that gives you a good indicator of how the tree's doing. Make sure it's, alive and healthy. So the next step is pruning. I'm stepping back now, having a look at the tree. So I need to thicken up this leader a bit here. So I'll continue, letting that grow a little more freely than some of the other branches. I've got a fairly thick branch horizontally on the left-hand side here, and not much on the right-hand side to balance that. Now, it is okay to have asymmetry, but I don't want it looking too bare on this side of the tree. A lot of these shoots just need pruning back. They've extended out. They're getting quite long and straight without any branching or taper. So pruning will take care of those. Some of these lower branches are doing well. They're extending out horizontally. You can see this one, I've directional pruned it once, twice, 3, 4 times to get it to continue to grow horizontally. So that branch is looking good. Yeah, so I'll begin the pruning. There's a shoot growing straight up here. I'll start there. I'll take that right off. Like that. This one's getting long. I think I want it to come out front a bit, so I will prune that. And I also see a scale blister on the underside of it here. I haven't seen a lot of scale blisters. There it is. So I'll definitely be spraying this. So I'll prune just right here. So this branch comes forward. And I've got a leaf that's growing down, so I should get some good branching in that area. This one I've pruned up here, and I'm thinking, you know, I had a lot of leaves back here. I'm thinking here is a better place, pruning that back. Now the leader here, I've got some good branching here. I think I'll prune this one here, and this one maybe here. Kind of shortening that back. So that takes care of this kind of trunk line coming out front. Get rid of this leaf here. Now here I've got a division, the major division comes up, and I've got a new shoot, which is branch number 3 in that area. So I've got to decide, do I want to develop this new branch and prune off an older one? I'm thinking the one behind is a little awkward. It's growing in towards this other branch, and from the front view it's hidden behind the branch up front. So I think I do want to keep this one and prune off this older branch, so I will do that. There. Yeah, so I think that's better. And I've got a leaf growing on the bottom, so I'll take the tip off here to encourage the branch to grow more horizontally. There's another scale insect there. Oh, there's another scale insect right here. Get rid of that. And then I've got a leaf that's fanning out here, so I'll take the tip off here. Like that. That takes care of this area. This one, it's getting a little tall, so I'm going to prune it back. I've got a leaf kind of at the back here. Prune that back, and I'll prune this one back to there. That'll improve that branch quite nicely. This one coming out here, it's a new branch, and I'm wondering if I want it. It kind of looks like it's growing in the inside of this curve here. I mean, it could thicken up and develop into something nice. I'll keep it on for now. I'll prune it to these downward facing leaves here. Taking the tip off. There's a stub I can remove here. Rotating around, I'll remove this branch growing back here. It's growing back towards this branch. I have maybe a better one growing here, so I'm going to prune it right back to there. Let this one grow up into this space. I've got a stub I can remove here. I can remove this branch tip like that. Here I have 2 branches growing kind of from one spot almost. This one is growing parallel to the one above, so I think I'm going to eliminate that one. Like that. Yeah, that looks better. Out this side of the tree, this lowest branch is doing very well. I've got an upright shoot I can remove here. I've got this branch dividing into 3, so I'll remove this one here. And then a stub off of here. This one's growing quite long, but it's nice and strong, and it's out into the light here, so I'm going to leave it because I want this bottom branch to thicken up a bit. This branch tip here can be pruned back, just the tip off, and maybe further. Yeah, I think to here, shortening it a bit. If I can get that stub out of there. Oh, just does not want to come out. There we go. There's a stub I can remove here. I can prune this one back. This one can be pruned back. There's one going vertical here. I'll want to prune that back. Here. I got a lot of branching in this area. There's one going straight up here. I'll take that right off. There's one on the inside here, I've got too many branches growing out that side, so I've got this one and this one, which is nice. I guess that's okay. I will shorten this one like that. I'll also shorten this one behind here to here like that. And then there's one on the inside. I guess that's okay. This one I can take the tip off. And then I've got these two branches kind of interfering with each other, so I need to prune off that interference like that. So stub I can take off, and I'll actually prune it back to there. Giving those branches a bit more space to grow. There's a stub on top I can remove, just kind of cleaning up my previous pruning points. This one can be pruned back to here. This one to here. And this one to here. Kind of keeping the apex a little more compact, letting light down to these lower branches, so keeping that rounded shape. Okay, let's keep going. This one can be pruned back to here. This one, there's a leaf out the back, I can prune it back to. This one, I've got, this branch kind of grows parallel with the branch behind it. And I don't think I need that. I'm going to take the vertical section off. First a little stub here, and then that whole vertical section. Clean up this stub like that. There's a vertical one here. I want to prune it back to a branch out the back, or a leaf out the back. I can prune this one back. There's a leaf on the inside. I'll take that out. This one, prune it back. There's a stub here. There's one here. I'll just prune the tip off. This one I'll prune the tip off. And this one I'll prune the tip off. Always using directional pruning. Leaf I can take out there, and another leaf I can take out here. I don't think I want that one up the middle. It goes between these two branches. No, I don't want that one. It's coming out. Like that. Cleans up that structure a bit. Okay, I think I'm getting closer to completing the pruning. I'm going to have a final look at the tree. I think I'm finished the pruning. I'm just going to kind of inspect it, see if there's anything I can improve. There's a stub here I can take off. Just to clean up that structure. Rotating around. Not so sure about this one growing vertical there. No, that's got to come out. There's one out the back that's new. That one's okay so far anyway. I think I could shorten this one a bit to a leaf facing out towards the back. Stub here I can remove. This one can be shortened to here. Actually, a little further down, like to there. And this one back to here. That looks better. There's a bit of a problem here. I've got 3 branches growing from one spot. I think I do want to keep my horizontal one. I don't want that one growing vertical here, so I'll take that out. That helps clean that up. And back to the front. So I think that's it. My next step, I've got to spray it with soap and water. Make sure there's no more scale insects crawling around on it. Here's a look at the tree. So you can see it's getting quite a nice fine branch structure when viewed from above. It's getting nice ramification. And it's starting to look quite miniature for a tree that's, you know, very, very small. Here's what I pruned off today. So, you know, just little twigs in that, you know, getting some of the branches going the right direction, eliminating some of the new suckers. Not a lot of pruning, but important pruning. I'm going to spray the tree with my soap and water, 40 parts water to 1 part liquid dish soap, the kind you use for hand washing dishes. One thing you'll notice on the tree before I wet it down is that the bark is starting to get that nice white ficus color on it. When a ficus is young, the branches are kind of a chocolate brown color, and as it ages, it turns to a kind of a ghostly white color. So it's something to look forward to as your ficus get old. So here I go with the soap and water. Oh, that's quite a fine spray there. Spraying it all down from above, from below. Spray the pot, everything. My workbench, making sure there's no scale insects alive. Okay, so I'll let that sit for a few minutes and then we'll come back and rinse it all off. And I really want to rinse it out of the soil also. All right, here I go, rinsing the tree off. I'll rotate the tree around and have one last look at it. So here we go, coming around to the right-hand side, going around to the back, coming around to the left-hand side, and coming back to the front. Before I put this tree back on the bench, I just want to talk about the size of it. This is quite a small tree. It's about, you know, just over 2 hands high. And yet it still has all the characteristics of a mature ficus in this small tree. I think this tree is more miniaturized than some of my larger ficus. Over here on the bench, I have my Ficus Fancy, which is kind of a similar styled tree, but I would say this is less developed than my small ficus that I just worked on. I would say this one's a little coarser. You can see the roots as they get old, they're fusing together and the trunk is smoothing out. So yeah, maybe some root carving on this someday to further divide these roots and make them look finer. Yeah, I would say that out of the 2 trees, I would say even though this one is, you know, 4 times larger, I would say it's less developed than my smaller one. I guess what I'm saying is I really like this tree. I like its compact size and I like all the detail work on it, and I really enjoy working on it. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.